Uh, let's start in. As part of AWS IAM, we are going to discuss these topics. First, we are going to start with what is AWS IAM and where we can use AWS IAM in AWS. And then once we understand AWS IAM, then we are going to start with first practical of understanding what is AWS IAM user, and next how to create AWS IAM user, then how to log in using AWS IAM user. While creating AWS account, we give one email ID and we provide password while creating AWS account. That account is called root user account. That account is called root user account or main administrator to your AWS team. Once we log in as a main root administrator, we can create users. Let's say there are 10 people working for X project. In that, five people are developers, and three people are testers, and two people are administrators. We want to create users. So once we log in as a root user, we can create. I said there are two administrators. So you can create administrator one, two. Then one administrator, we want to give all access so that he will taken care to create users. He will taken care to assign policies. He will taken care to create other activities. Instead of behalf of my root admin privileges, I want to give admin privileges to one of administrator. First, I will create a user. Then I will give full access of admin activities. Then he is going to create developers, he is going to create testers, related users. And finally, he started giving these activities. User is created, once user is created, then for that user, let's say developers, we want to give access of EC2, Lambda, and Glue, Athena, Redshift, and RDS. And testers, I want to give only RDS and I want to give Athena. For administrators, I want to give along with this one, I want to give other services access. So to give every access, AWS defined policies. For every service, different policies, read related, write related, delete related, multiple policies are available. Sometimes we can give full access permission. For every service, there are 200 plus services in AWS cloud. For every service, we have different policies. So we are going to understand what is IAM policy and how to assign IAM policy to user. First, we are going to see how to assign IAM policy to user practically. Once this one is completed, once user creation is completed, once this group creation completed, role creation is completed, then we are going to see how to assign policy to group, how to assign policy to role. Okay. Then once we do practical of assigning policy to user, then we are going to see creating IAM group. Instead of giving policies individual user level, instead of giving policies individual user level, we can create a group, we can add users to group, then we can assign policies to group. Let's say five developers, I said. These five developers having same need, same access. Yeah. Instead of giving policies or instead of assigning policies to individual user, what we can do, we can add users to group. We can create a group, let's say developers group. Then we can add these 5 developers to developers group. Then we can assign policies to developers group. Instead of individually assigning policies to each user, we can attach users to group. Then we can assign policies to group. So we are going to see this practical, creating group, adding users to group, assigning IAM policies to group. And once this one is completed, we are going to see very, very important concept is called AWS IAM role. What is role? If you remember, I said we have 200 plus services. In the 200 plus services, let's say AWS Glue want to communicate with AWS S3 and also wants to communicate with AWS Redshift. By default, a service cannot communicate with other service. By default, a service cannot communicate with other service. Then, then AWS provided a special concept called role. So we are going to discuss, we are going to discuss what is IAM role, what is IAM role. Okay. So first we are going to see what is IAM role. Then we are going to see creating IAM role. Then we are going to see how to assign policies to IAM role. Then we are going to see how to assign role to service. Let's say AWS Glue required IAM reading S3 reading permission and Redshift to write permission. So first we create a role for role of reading S3, writing Redshift permission. Then we are going to attach this role to Glue job. So we are going to see this complete practical. And then once we complete this one, we are going to discuss a very, very important concept called enabling multi-factor authentication to IAM user. Here in second chapter, we are going to see creating a user with password. Creating user with password. Along with the password security, we can provide additional security to user account. That is multi-factor authentication. Along with the password, we can give multi-factor authentication, maybe password OTP or authenticator app OTP. So additional security so that we can protect user. Let's say user having only user ID plus password. So there may be a chance of giving a password to someone, or someone may hack your password. Then how security to user account? We are going to provide additional security, multi-factor authentication. 1 minute. Yeah. So using multi-factor authentication, we are going to add additional security to user account so that uh, only through the multi-factor authentication along with the username, along with the password, you need additional uh, additional protection to your user account. Once this one is completed, we have some more important AWS IAM concepts. We are going to discuss those concepts. Okay. And then we are going to discuss AWS IAM examples with different services. Okay. These are 8 important concepts we are going to discuss as part of AWS IAM team. Clear writing? What are the concepts we are going to discuss as part of AWS IAM? Okay. Yeah. Let's starting. In this session, we are going to discuss AWS IAM. IAM stands for Identity and Access Management. As part of AWS IAM, we are going to discuss these concepts. First, we are going to start understanding what is AWS IAM and where can we use AWS IAM in AWS and what is IAM policy. What is IAM policy and how to assign IAM policy to user and group and role. And before that, we are going to discuss about AWS IAM user creation. What is AWS IAM user and how to create AWS IAM user and how to assign policies to users. And then we are going to understand creating IAM group and creating IAM role, then enabling multi-factor authentication. Let me diagrammatically explain how we are going to implement. Let's say first let's understand this is my AWS IAM. Let's say this is my AWS IAM. AWS IAM. I have different AWS services. AWS services. Okay. Let's say this is my AWS IAM. AWS IAM. So let's say this is my AWS IAM. And here I have AWS services. We have 200 plus services team. Right now, AWS offering 200 plus services. Okay. Example, we have list of services like AWS EC2, AWS S3, AWS, AWS Glue, AWS Lambda, AWS Athena, AWS Redshift, AWS, AWS RDS, AWS uh, DynamoDB, AWS Kinesis, Kinesis, AWS mm, AWS EMR, and many more services too. Many more services. So we have 200 plus services. All these 200 plus services associated with AWS IAM. Let's say we have users team. Let's say we have users. Let's say we have list of users. Let's say these are users. We have different users. So first one, we are going to create users using AWS IAM. First, what we are going to do? Using AWS IAM, we are going to create users. Okay. And along with this one, we are going to create groups. We are going to create groups. We are going to create groups. Groups. Using AWS, we are going to create users. We are going to create users. We are going to create groups. Let's say user 1 to user 1 to and so on user n. User 1 to user n we are going to create. User n. And here we are going to create group 1 to group n. User 1 to user n. User n. And group 1 to group n. Group 1 to group n. So we are going to create multiple users and multiple groups. Let's say here we have a concept called policy system. Here we have a concept called policies. Let's say I want to access EC2 and you need a policy. You need what? Policy. Without a policy, you cannot access a service. So there is a concept called policies. Yeah. Let's continue it. Yeah. So let's say user 1 wants to access user 1 wants to access this EC2 team. User 1 must having policy to access EC2. Policy should be assigned. Policy should be assigned to user. Using AWS IAM, we can create users. But without assigning EC2 policy to user 1, he cannot access EC2 service. And some users want access EC2, S3, Glue, Lambda. We can assign EC2 policy, S3 policy, Glue policy, Lambda policy to user 1. Let's say we have multiple users working for X project. 10 AWS data engineers and two AWS testers and one AWS administrator is working, or two AWS administrators are working. Individually assigning policies for all these users, 10 plus 5 plus 2 plus 1, let's say 2. So instead of assigning policies individually, what we are going to do, we are going to create groups like developers, administrators, testers, and support engineers. Like that, we create a separate groups. Then we add users to group. Then we assign policies directly to group so that it will uh, who are in that group, they get all that policies. We can assign policies directly to users, or if same policies we have to assign for multiple users, it is better to create a group, add users to group, then assign policies to group so that all group users get same policies. Okay. And next one, there is one more important one is called role. There is one more important one called role. Let me show you role. Let's say role. Let's say AWS Glue. AWS Glue want to access AWS S3. Let's say AWS Glue want to access AWS S3 team. One service want to access another service. Then we will create a role. We will create a role. We will create a role. Then we will assign role to service. Example, I am creating AWS job 1. Let's say here I am creating AWS Glue job 1. This job 1, want to access this job 1 want to access AWS S3, want to access AWS S3. This AWS Glue job want to access AWS S3, and finally it want to write output into AWS Redshift. So AWS Glue do not have direct permission. So we are going to create a role and we are going to assign that role to this job so that this job can access S3, this job can access Redshift. So we are going to create a role. That role we are going to assign S3 policy and we are going to assign Redshift policy. Then we are going to add this role to job. So in AWS, if one service want to access another service, they cannot communicate directly. Using AWS role, we are going to assign AWS role to particular service job. Then that job can communicate with corresponding services. Okay, clear, right, team? And once this one is completed, we are going to discuss multi-factor authentication, team. Multi-factor authentication. One minute, team. along with these concepts, team. So these are main important concepts. Clear, right? What are concepts we are going to discuss? So first we'll start with understanding policies. What are different policies are available? Okay. So first we are going to understand what is AWS IAM. AWS IAM. Okay. And where can we use AWS IAM in AWS? Then we are going to discuss what is policies. Then we are going to discuss users, and we are going to discuss groups. We are going to discuss groups, and we are going to discuss roles, and along with this one, we are going to discuss how to enable multi-factor authentication and what are different AWS concept and how we can use AWS IAM with different services. So these are the concepts we are going to discuss as part of AWS IAM team. AWS IAM. Okay, clear, right, team? And we are going to see how to log in using AWS IAM user. Once we create a AWS IAM user, how to log in? What is the URL for AWS IAM user? Is it generates AWS IAM? And how can we use that URL? Okay. Once we log in with the AWS IAM user with password, is there any additional security? Then it comes with multi-factor authentication. How to enable multi-factor authentication to user? So all these concepts we are going to discuss as part of AWS IAM tip. AWS IAM is very important service. AWS IAM is very important service tip. You may be AWS developer, you may be AWS administrator, you may be AWS data engineer, you may be AWS data analyst, you may be AWS data scientist, you may be AWS generative AI engineer, you may be AWS IAM engineer, you may be AWS IoT engineer, you may be anything in AWS. AWS IAM is very important for you. Every service associated with what? AWS IAM. Every AWS service required AWS IAM for authentication and authorization. Okay. So clear, right? What are concepts we are going to discuss AWS IAM and why we are discussing AWS IAM? Yeah. Let's continue AWS IAM. As part of AWS IAM, in this, we are going to discuss what is AWS IAM user. What is AWS IAM user? And we are going to discuss how to create IAM user and how to log in as IAM user. Okay. So first, let's start understanding what is IAM user. IAM user is an identity in AWS created for a person or application. Example, uh, once we create an account or while creating an account, we will provide email ID and we will provide password and we will create an account, right? That user account is called root user account. Root user account. Let me open AWS Cloud. Let me open AWS account, aws.amazon.com. Here, if you see account management console, here you can see two users login. You can see IAM user login. IAM user login. Okay, this is one. Second one, the main user account. If you create account with your user details, right? So this is main root user account. So first time we log in with root user account. Root user account. And once we log in as a root user account, then we will create a IAM users. We will create a IAM users. Let me open this IAM dashboard. Once we go to AWS, here search bar, you can search IAM. Here you can click on IAM. Here you have a option of IAM user. IAM users. Using this feature, we can create IAM users. Okay. Sorry, Tim. So, as part of this IAM user, we are understanding what is IAM user. Later, we are going to create IAM user. Then we are going to see sign in IAM user. So, clear writing, what is IAM user? IAM user is a person. We are going to create user login using IAM user. So we will create a username and we will provide a password, temporary password. We can ask user to change a password in a first login. First login. Once user is login to access any service, we have a concept called policy. So we are going to later, we are going to assign policies to users team. We are going to assign policies to user. IAM user is a person or application needs to access AWS services. AWS having 200 plus services. Some users may have one or more services. Let's say some user required 5 services access. Some users required 10 services access. Some users required 50 services access. So depends upon their activity in our AWS cloud, we can assign corresponding policies to user to access AWS. So using AWS IAM user, we are going to provide credentials to log in AWS account. We are going to create a IAM user. We are going to provide a temp password and we are going to give a separate URL to login. IAM URL. Let's see this kind of IAM URL. Let me scroll down. So we are going to give these kind of IAM URL. Once we create an account, we will get IAM URL so that user can log in using this IAM URL. Okay. Now let's see. Creating IAM user. So first log into AWS Management Console. So I am login already AWS Management Console. So here when we log in, we can see this dashboard. Here I already opened IAM service. That's why I am able to see recently visited. In your case, you may started just now. So go to search bar, search IAM. click on IAM service. This is IAM dashboard team. This screen is IAM dashboard. Left pane, left side, you can see users. You can click on these users. Let me click on these users. Click on users. Okay. I already created some users team. Okay. I want to create a new user. Here we have option called create user. Click on create user. Give your username. I am giving username is Sreenivasa. Sreenivasa. Then here, see this option, provide user access to AWS Management Console. Yes, I want to give AWS Management Console access. Observe here, auto-generated password or custom password. Select custom password and here I am giving password India @ 123 123 123. India @ 123 123. Then observe this option. I enabled this one. A user, while you are login at first time, you need to change a password. Okay. Click on this one. Click on next button. One. Yeah. Once we click on next button, it is showing list of groups. You want to add user to group or you want to attach a policy directly to user. Let's see. I'm clicking on attach policy. So here what I'm doing, initially I'm giving only EC2 access to this user. My requirement is initially I want to assign EC2 this user. Later, based on the requirement, later I may going to add multiple policies to user. Here you can see search button. You can search EC2 full access. Then select this EC2. Then click on next button. And here you can see create user. And it is creating AWS IAM user. So successfully created AWS IAM user. You are seeing option returns to users list. Click on continue. Okay. So here we can see IAM user Sreenivasa. Click on IAM user and see this IAM user. So click on IAM user and this is IAM user screen. So you can see tab called security credentials. You can see console signing. This is the URL of user signing. Select this URL. Then your URL is this one and username is Srinivasa and password is this one. Okay. Now let's see sign into IAM user. So what I'm doing, this is my Google Chrome URL and I am opening incognito window. Then in this I am opening IAM URL. Press enter. IAM URL. Then here it is asking username. Username is Srinivasa. And the password is India @ 123 123 123. Click on sign in. and it is asking change password. Old password is India @ 123 123 123, and new password. Enter new password. Then click on confirm changes. Then click on continue sign in. Now you can see IAM user console. Okay. I am trying to access S3 team. Let me click on S3 service, search S3 service, click on S3. You can see click on create S3 bucket. Then just to try to create a bucket just for demo purpose. I'm giving some demo name. Okay. Just click on uncheck this option. I acknowledge. Then try to create a bucket. Just to show user do not have access of S3. Here you can see option saying failed to create a bucket. Bucket permission is required. Bucket permission is required. While creating IAM user, we assigned only EC2 policy. Yes or no? So this user having only EC2 permission, he do not have other services access. Just to show demo whether user is able to access other services or not, I used S3. Okay. So clear writing, how to create a AWS IAM user and how to sign in as IAM user. Let me see one more. Let me try to delete a user. Yeah. Deleting AWS IAM user. So once a project is completed, let's say I want to delete a user. Go to users, select users you want to delete. Then you can click on delete option. Yeah. So first let me delete this user. So you can type on confirm and you can click on delete user. So it will delete a user. For this user, there is one additional one. So access key, we will discuss what is access key. So we have to deactivate access key. Then we have to delete a user. So later we are going to see what is access key, how to generate access key to user. Okay. So we can create users and we can delete users using option called user string. Clear item, how to create a user, how to sign in as AWS IAM user. Once we create a IAM user, we will get a unique IAM URL and username and password. Once we create username password, we are going to share these details to our users. Once they have this IAM user URL, username and password, they are going to sign in AWS Management Console with that URL. And first time, if you enable to change a password, user must change password. Okay? Yeah. Yep. Let's start in. In this session, as part of AWS IAM, let's discuss what is AWS IAM policy and how to assign policy. How to assign policy. What is AWS IAM policy and how to assign IAM policy to AWS IAM user. So first important point about IAM policy is it's a permission. It's a permission for users, groups, and roles. Let's say we created AWS IAM user. Once AWS IAM user log into AWS Management Console, he cannot access any service. He cannot access any service. Then how we can give access on different services? Let's say AWS having 200 plus services, but my user wants to access AWS S3, AWS Athena, AWS Glue, and AWS Lambda. Then we have a concept called AWS IAM policy. Let me open policy. Let me go to AWS IAM. Let me open AWS IAM. So in this dashboard, left pane, you can see policies. Click on policies. Here you can see different policies. You can see list of policies for different services. You can see multiple tabs. You can see these many. So, uh, so you can see total policies. You can see 1446 policies like read, write, update, delete. Depends upon requirement. They have multiple policies. Policy nothing but a permission. This permission for users, groups, and roles. Okay. Now let's see. I want to assign a policy to user. So we have already created a user. Go to users. So see, this is username Sreenivasa. Click on user Sreenivasa. Here you can see for Sreenivasa, we have only easy to full access. Sreenivasa cannot access any other service, but we want to add permission or policy. So right side, you can see add permission, add permissions. Here you can see attach policy directly. Select this attach policy directly. Then select S3 full permission. I want to give S3 full access. Select this one. Click on next. Click on add permission. Along with EC2 S3, I also want to give glue. So here I'm searching glue, glue. See, glue console full access. Then along with the glue console, I want to give Athena, Athena full access. Let me click. I am adding two permissions at a time. You can see now. See, my user Srinivasa having Amazon Athena full access, EC2 full access, S3 full access, Glue console full access. I am user change password option. These are permissions my user having. Clear writing, what is policy and how to assign policy to user. Okay. Yeah. Now let's continue AWS IAM. In this session, we are going to discuss what is AWS IAM group and how to create AWS IAM group, and then how to add users to AWS IAM group, and how to assign IAM policy to IAM group. Okay. First important point about uh, IAM group is group allows users to allows uh, allows add multiple users and assign policies to multiple users easily. Without a group, let's say X project, 10 developers are working. So we have to give separately permissions for 10 users. Instead, you can add the 10 users to group, then you can give permissions to group so that all 10 users gets the same permission. Instead of giving permissions individual to each user, we can add users to group, then we can give permissions. So AWS IAM group allows you to assign permissions to multiple users easily. Okay, let's see how to create a group, how to add users to group, and how to assign policy to group. Let me go to here. First, let me remove policies from user. Okay, right now my user do not have any policies. So go to groups, user groups. Okay, here let's say let me delete this group. Yeah, here once you click on user groups, you can see create group. Click on group. Here I am giving group name. Group name is developers. Developers. I am creating a group developers. At the time of at the time of group creation, if you want to add any user, you can select, or later also you can add. Then here I am adding permission. Let's say I am adding EC2 full permission. Then I am adding glue full permission. I am adding Athena full permission. And then I am adding S3 full permission. Then I am adding Redshift full permission. Okay. I am adding these permissions to my group. Then I am creating user group. So this is my group. Let's click on this group. Here you can see add users to group. Click on add users. Select the number of users you want to add. Click on add users. Go to users and click on your user. You can see permissions are added automatically. You can see how these permissions are acquired, attached through the group. These permissions attached to this user through the developers group. Clear, right? What is IAM group and how to create a group, how to attach policy to group, and how to add users to group. Now let's continue AWS IAM. In this, we are going to discuss AWS IAM role. What is IAM role and how to create AWS IAM role? How to assign IAM policy? How to assign? How to assign IAM policy to IAM role? Then how to assign IAM role to AWS service? Okay. So first important point about IAM role is, let's say I am having service called glue, AWS glue. In this glue, I am writing PySpark code, PySpark code. In this PySpark code, what I am doing, I am reading S3 file. I am reading S3 file. I am writing ETL job. In this ETL job, I am writing a processing logic. Let's say S3 file contain sales records, sales data. In that, I am taking particular city, let's say Hyderabad city filter. Then I filtered records. Then I want to write output into Redshift. Let's say I want to write output into Redshift. Redshift. This is my requirement. So glue service is required read permission from S3, okay, and write permission to Redshift. Yes or no? Glue service required read permission of S3 and write permission of Redshift. So here comes into uh, role. So what we are going to do in AWS, we have role. We are going to create a role. For this role, we are going to attach S3 read permission, Redshift write permission. Then we are going to attach this role to AWS Glue job, AWS Glue job team. Okay. So role can be used to assign permission to service, AWS service, so that a service can communicate with other services. By default, a service cannot have uh, permission to communicate with other service. Using AWS IAM role, we can assign policy to communicate with one service to other service. Okay. Now let's see creating IAM role. Creating IAM role. Go to AWS Management Console. You can see roles. Here you can see lot of roles I have created. Similar way, I want to create one role. Create role. So here my requirement is service role. For one service, I want to give permission. For which service you want to give permission? Let's say here for glue job. For glue job, select a glue job. Then click on next button. Then what policies you want to give? S3 full permission. And similar way, Redshift full permission. Then click on next button. Here give a role name. I am giving role name is, let's say, uh, glue job 1. Role name I am giving glue job 1. Description is optional. Description also I am giving same description. Then click on create role. So role is created. You can see glue job 1. This is glue job 1. This glue job 1, we assigned S3, we assigned Redshift full policy. Now go to particular service. Let's say glue. open a glue. In this glue, we can create a job using visual ETL options. We have separate concept for creating ETL job. We are going to discuss very in depth about AWS glue. Here we are just creating a glue job. We are just going to assign our IAM role. So just understand only how to assign IAM role to glue job. We are going to discuss very in depth about AWS glue later. Okay, let's click on visual ETL, and here you can see visual ETL, and here we can give a job name. Let's say glue job, glue ETL job. I'm giving job name glue ETL job. Then you can see job details. Click on job details. Here you can see IAM role. Here search glue job 1. Select our IAM role. Now click on save. Now click on save. Now your glue job having capability to connect S3, and our glue job having capability to connect Redshift. Without assigning this IAM role, your glue job do not have access of S3, do not have access of Redshift. Once you assign this IAM role, then your job is having capability. Now go to script. Here we are going to write actual Python, PySpark logic to connect S3, connect Redshift. Later, we are going to see how to write this glue ETL job. So in this session, we focus on how to assign IAM role to glue job so that one service can communicate with other service. Clear writing, what is IAM role and how to create IAM role, how to assign IAM role to service. Yeah. Now let's start understanding AWS IAM continuation. So enabling multi-factor authentication to IAM user. So now let's see, we have IAM user. So this is my AWS. So 200 plus services, 200 plus services. And in this 200 plus services, let's say we given two services access to my user one. User one using username, user one using username and password to log into this management console. Yes or no? Along with the password, I want to give additional security called multi-factor authentication. What is the advantage of multi-factor authentication? What is the advantage of multi-factor authentication? Let's say someone knows your password. Someone knows your password. With the password, they cannot log in because they need additional multi-factor authentication. It may be SMS, it may be email, it may be some other third-party tool like Microsoft Authenticator or Google Authenticator. We have to install and we have to use that authenticator, and we have to generate a authenticator key. Then we have to enter that authenticator key value to log in. Then only user can log in. So we are providing additional protection or additional security to your user login. Now let's see how to enable multi-factor authentication to your user login. So let's go to AWS IAM user. Okay, AWS IAM user. Go to users. Select your user. In this user, you can see security credentials. Then here you can see assign multi-factor authentication. Click on assign multi-factor authentication. And here we have multiple options. Passkey or authenticator app and hardware uh, uh, TOTP token. I'm selecting authenticator app. I'm giving name is dev developer hyphen auth authentication. Then here I'm selecting authenticator app. Click on next button and here click on show QR code. 1 minute to take any install authenticator app in your mobile. It may be Google Authenticator. It may be Microsoft Authenticator. Open that authenticator. So I am opening authenticator in my mobile. Then click on show QR code. Then scan QR code. Okay. Now click on enter the code. So I'm enter the code 006 1 minute 456469. Let's wait a few seconds to generate another code. Three, four, five, 8, 2. Then click on add multi-factor authentication. That's it. Now, now log in as your IAM user. Log in as your IAM user. So here permissions. Okay. Your user security credentials. So this is my console login. Take this console login, open incognito window, enter this login URL, enter your username Sreenivasa, then enter your password, then click on sign in. Once you click on sign in, it is asking multi-factor authentication. Then open your authenticator app. Then now go to your authenticator app, then open your username, enter password. Sorry, uh, open authentication code. Click on sign in. Now it will allow you to sign in. So we are providing additional security to your user login. Okay, clear writing? How to enable multi-factor authentication to your user? Clear, right? Yeah.